I suggest you cooperate, counselor. This could go a lot easier if you just hand over the evidence.
Ma'am, you are interfering with an investigation. I'm gonna need you to step back.
His hand rested near his belt. She glanced at her phone. No signal. The plaza was louder now. Footsteps. A bus hissed. Somewhere, a flag snapped in the wind. For my client. He looked her up and down. Too slow. Too careful. This area is restricted. She frowned. It's a public building. His jaw tightened. Turn around. Now. People passed them. No one stopped. No one looked too long. She took one step back. Another. Her heel scraped stone. I'm not doing anything wrong, she said, keeping her voice even. That's when he smiled. Not wide. Not kind. Refusing a lawful order makes it worse. Her heart knocked once. Hard. I need you to lower your voice, she said. His eyes changed. Hands where I can see them. The world narrowed. Sound dropped. The building behind her felt farther away than it should. I didn't. Hands? Now. Metal clicked. Someone gasped. As cold steel closed around her wrist, she looked past him, up at the courthouse she had helped design, the one meant to stand for justice. And realized no one inside knew what was happening on its steps. The courthouse steps were colder than she remembered. Stone held the night's chill longer than concrete. She felt it through the thin sole of her shoe as she paused, checking her phone one last time. No signal. She lifted her head and looked up. Glass panels caught the morning light. Steel lines ran clean and sharp, just as she had planned. She knew exactly how the sun would hit the entrance at this hour. She had argued for that angle. Oh. The voice cut across the plaza. She turned. A police officer stood a few feet away. Tall. Broad. One hand resting on his belt. Not relaxed. Yes, she said. You can't loiter here. Her brow creased. I'm not loitering. He glanced past her, then back. Slow. Measuring. This is a government building. I know. That seemed to bother him. She shifted her bag higher on her shoulder. The leather strap was worn soft from years of use. Inside were rolled drawings, a tablet, a folder marked City Review. I'm waiting for someone, she said. For who? She named the department. He didn't write it down. You got ID? Yes. Let me see it. She hesitated just long enough to feel the eyes on her back. People moving past. Shoes on stone. A low hum of traffic. She handed it over. He studied the card. Turned it. Turned it again. This yours? Yes. You live around here? No. So why are you here? She kept her voice level. I have a meeting. With who? She repeated herself. He looked up. His mouth flattened. You don't look like you work for the city. The words landed heavy. What does that mean? She asked. His eyes narrowed. It means I need you to step away from the entrance. I'm early, she said. I'm allowed to be here. He took a half step closer. Don't argue with me. Her chest tightened. Not fear yet. Something sharper. I'm not arguing, she said. I'm explaining. He handed her ID back harder than necessary. Turn around. She blinked. Why? Now. A couple walking past slowed. Someone else stopped outright. She felt heat rise in her face. Forced it down. I haven't done anything, she said. His jaw worked. Refusing a lawful order. I'm not refusing, she cut in, then stopped herself. Breathed. Silence stretched. Lower your voice, he said. I am calm, she replied. He wasn't listening anymore. Hands where I can see them. Her stomach dropped. Officer. Hands. She raised them. Slowly. The click of cuffs echoed too loud in the open space. A woman nearby whispered, "Oh my God." Cold metal closed around her wrist. Too tight. Is this necessary? She asked. Yes. For what charge? Disorderly conduct. She let out a short breath. Almost a laugh. Stopped it. I didn't disturb anyone. You are now. He guided her toward the door. Not rough. Not gentle. People stared. Some looked away fast. Others didn't. Her heart pounded. She focused on the building ahead. The lines. The symmetry. The entrance she had walked through dozens of times during construction. "Please," she said quietly. "Can we talk about this inside?" "We are going inside," he said. "Different way." The doors opened. Cool air rushed over her skin. As they crossed the threshold, she caught her reflection in the glass, hands cuffed, shoulders straight, eyes steady. The courthouse swallowed them whole. And somewhere deep inside the building she had helped create, a door closed behind her. They walked her down a narrow hallway. The officer's hand stayed firm on her arm. Not painful. Just enough to remind her she wasn't free. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. The air smelled like disinfectant and old paper. "Shoes," another officer said from behind a desk. She stopped. "Excuse me?" "Shoes. Belt. Watch." "I'm not under arrest," she said. The first officer didn't look at her. "Yes, you are." "For what?" He slid a form across the counter. "Disorderly conduct. Failure to comply." Her mouth opened. Closed. She bent down and slipped off her shoes. The floor was colder here. The chill climbed into her legs. A female officer stepped closer. Gloves snapped tight. "Any weapons?" "No." "Any drugs?" "No." She was searched anyway. Hands quick. Impersonal. Professional enough to hide the disrespect. "Name?" the desk officer said. She gave it. He typed. Paused. Looked up. "How do you spell that?" She spelled it. He typed again. Slower this time. "Occupation." "Architect." He snorted once. Quiet. Almost friendly. "Sure." Her shoulders stiffened. "I'm serious," she said. "Uh-huh." He didn't look at her. "Employer?" She named her firm. He stopped typing. Then continued, changing something. She leaned forward as much as the cuffs allowed. "You spelled it wrong." He shrugged. "System will fix it." The first officer stood to the side now, arms crossed. Watching. "Can I make a call?" she asked. "After processing." "How long will that be?" He checked nothing. "Depends." Time stretched. A printer hummed. Papers slid out. One sheet landed face up. She saw the words "resisted officer." "That's not true," she said. The first officer finally spoke. "You pulled away." "I stepped back," she said. "Because you were too close." He smiled thinly. "That's resisting." Her jaw tightened. "Any medical conditions?" the female officer asked. "No." "Pregnant?" "No." She signed where they told her to sign. Or refused when it felt wrong. Each refusal earned a sigh. A look. "Why are you making this hard?" the desk officer asked. She met his eyes. "Why are you?" Silence followed. They took her fingerprints. Ink pressed into every line. She stared at the wall while it happened. A framed photo hung crooked. A smiling mayor shaking hands. "Hold still," the officer said. "I am." "You keep tensing." "Because I'm cuffed." He rolled his eyes. Someone laughed down the hall. A phone rang. No one answered it. She thought of her meeting. The email thread. The calendar reminder that would now go unanswered. "Property," the desk officer said, pointing to a bin. She placed her bag inside. Hesitated before letting go. "What's in it?" he asked. "Work." He flipped it open anyway. Papers shifted. Drawing slid half out. He frowned. "What's this?" "Blueprints." "For?" She swallowed. "This building." The first officer laughed. Loud this time. "Yeah, okay." She said nothing. They led her to another room. Smaller. Windowless. A bench bolted to the wall. "Sit." She sat today. The door stayed open just long enough for her to hear someone say, "She thinks she's important." Then it shut. The room hummed. Ventilation pushed air that smelled like metal. Minutes passed. Or hours. She couldn't tell. Footsteps stopped outside. The door opened again. A different officer stood there. Younger. Nervous eyes. "Your bail's been set," he said. Relief flickered. "Okay." Denied. Her chest tightened. "What?" "Based on the charges." "I don't have a record." He shifted his weight. "Not my call." "Can I speak to a supervisor?" He hesitated. "They're busy." She laughed once. It surprised her. "Of course they are." The first officer appeared behind him. "Problem?" he asked. "She wants special treatment," the younger officer said. She looked up. I want fair treatment. The first officer leaned in. Too close again. You should have just moved when I told you. The door opened wider. Let's go, he said. Where? She asked. Cell. Her heart sank as they guided her down another hallway. This one darker. Colder. Metal bars came into view. The door creaked open. She stepped inside. As it slammed shut, the sound echoed off concrete walls. And for the first time since the cuffs clicked closed, she felt truly alone. The bench was colder than the hallway. Concrete pressed through the thin fabric of her pants. She shifted once. Stopped. There was no position that helped. The cell held 3 other women. None spoke. One stared at the floor. One paced, slow and tight. The third leaned against the wall, eyes closed, lips moving without sound. Metal bars separated them from a narrow corridor. Glass beyond that. Thick. Smudged with fingerprints. She leaned back and studied the ceiling. The lights were wrong. Too harsh for a holding area. She had warned them during the design review. Said it would raise anxiety. Increase agitation. They hadn't listened. A voice echoed down the corridor. Name? A public defender appeared at the bars. Young. Wrinkled suit. Clipboard hugged to his chest. She stood. I'm here for your intake, he said. We don't have much time. Of course, she replied. He glanced at the officer nearby before lowering his voice. Charges are minor, he said. If you cooperate, this goes away. I did cooperate. He nodded like he hadn't heard. You shouldn't challenge them on the street, he added. It escalates things. Her throat tightened. I stood still, she said. I answered every question. He flipped a page. Officer says otherwise. Did you watch the video? She asked. He paused. That takes time. She let out a slow breath. Then please don't tell me what I should have done. He scribbled something. Look, I'll try to get you released today. Try, she repeated. Footsteps approached. The first officer stopped near the glass. Their eyes met. His expression didn't change. The defender leaned closer. Any witnesses? Yes, she said quickly. Several. A woman gasped when he cuffed me. A man filmed it. The officer tapped the glass once. Sharp. Time, he said. The defender stepped back. I'll be in touch. When? She asked. He was already turning away. The door closed again. She Saturday. Minutes passed. The pacing woman stopped and stared at her. They always lie, the woman said. She nodded. I know. The woman laughed without humor. Then why you look surprised? She didn't answer. A shadow moved behind the glass. A young clerk stood there now. Not a uniform. City badge clipped to a lanyard. He scanned paperwork, brow furrowed. He looked up. Looked again. Then back down. Her pulse quickened. The officer noticed. What? He asked. Nothing, the clerk said too fast. The officer leaned over his shoulder. Their heads bent close. The clerk pointed at a line on the screen. The officer's face hardened. He straightened. You're mistaken. The clerk swallowed. It's just the name. Go, the officer snapped. The clerk left. Quickly. Her hands clenched in her lap. Something shifted in the air. Subtle. Like pressure before a storm. An announcement crackled overhead. Indistinct. Then silence. The woman with closed eyes finally spoke. You ain't supposed to be here. She looked over. You don't belong in places like this, the woman continued. They don't like that. I know, she said softly. The officer returned with a paper bag. Food. He slid it through a slot. Eat, he said. Court's delayed. How long? She asked. He didn't answer. She pushed the bag aside. The glass reflected her face now. Tired. Controlled. Eyes still steady. She noticed something else. A plaque across the corridor. Mounted crooked. Brass letters dulled with age. Dedication. City Justice Center. Her breath caught. She remembered that meeting. The argument over font size. The insistence on durability. She had won that fight. The irony burned. Footsteps again. Faster this time. 2 supervisors approached. Quiet voices. Tense. The officer stiffened. They spoke just out of earshot. One gestured toward her cell. The officer shook his head. The supervisor frowned. A beat passed. Then another. The supervisor turned and walked away. The officer exhaled. Slow. Controlled. He looked at her through the glass. This time, his eyes weren't confident. They were calculating. The cell door stayed shut. But something had cracked. And she knew, whatever came next would not be small. Morning light never reached the holding area. She knew that by design. Windows were expensive. Light was considered a privilege. The bench felt harder now. Or maybe she was. Footsteps echoed again. Slower. Deliberate. A supervisor stopped outside the cell. Middle-aged. Calm voice. Tired eyes. Name? He asked. She gave it. He checked a tablet. Scrolled. Paused. You're an architect? He asked. Yes. He nodded once. That's what you said yesterday. It's what I am. The first officer stood a few feet back. Arms folded. Watching. The supervisor tapped the screen. You work for a firm that's done city contracts? Yes. How many? Several. The supervisor glanced at the officer. Including this building. The air shifted. The officer stepped forward. That's not relevant. The supervisor raised a hand. I'm asking her. She felt her heart begin to race. Not panic. Something else. A tight focus. Yes, she said. I was lead designer. Silence followed. The supervisor studied her face. Searching for something. A crack. A lie. Do you have proof? He asked. Yes. Where? In my bag. The officer scoffed. She said those were blueprints. They are, she said. Stamped. Approved. The supervisor turned. Bring the bag. The officer hesitated. Just a second too long. Then he moved. Minutes passed. She counted breaths. The hum of the lights. The faint echo of a phone ringing somewhere above. The bag returned. Placed on the counter outside the cell. The supervisor opened it carefully. Rolled papers slid free. He unrolled one. His eyes traced the lines. He turned the page. Then another. He looked at the title block. Her name sat there. Clear. Printed. Permanent. The officer leaned in. Anyone can fake that. The supervisor didn't respond. He pulled out a tablet. Typed. Cross-checked. His jaw tightened. This is your signature, he said. Yes. And you were scheduled to meet facilities at 9? Yes. The supervisor exhaled through his nose. The officer spoke fast now. She was disorderly. She refused. I read the report, the supervisor said. Calm. Flat. Twice. He looked up. You wrote she resisted. She pulled away. She stepped back, the supervisor corrected. Video shows that. The officer's face flushed. She was non-compliant. She asked questions, the supervisor said. That's not a crime. The officer straightened. Sir. Enough. The word landed heavy. The supervisor turned to her. I'm sorry for the delay. It wasn't an apology. Not yet. But it mattered. What happens now? She asked. He hesitated. We need to review procedure. Am I being released? He looked back at the officer. Not yet. Her chest tightened again. Why? Because charges were filed, he said. And retracting them requires process. The officer nodded, relieved. But, the supervisor added, things have changed. He handed the tablet to the officer. Internal Affairs will want to see this. The officer stiffened. For a misunderstanding. For a false report, the supervisor said. The officer's mouth opened. Closed. A phone buzzed. The supervisor checked it. Media's already asking questions, he said quietly. The officer's eyes flicked to her. Sharp. Cold. Who did you call? He demanded. She met his stare. No one. The supervisor glanced between them. Someone recognized the name. Her pulse jumped. Who? She asked. A clerk, he said. Facilities. He rolled up the drawings again. Slower this time. Careful. We'll need you to appear in court, he said. Today. Her stomach dropped. I thought you said. I said process, he replied. Court is part of that. The officer smirked. Just barely. Can I at least call my lawyer? She asked. The supervisor nodded. Yes. The officer unlocked the cell. The click echoed loud. Her wrists were uncuffed. Blood rushed back. Pins and needles. She rubbed them slowly. As she stepped out, the officer leaned in close. "You think this changes anything?" he whispered. She looked at him. Really looked. "It already has," she said. They led her down a different hallway this time. Brighter. Wider. Glass walls lined the corridor. She caught her reflection again. Same face. Same posture. But the air felt different. Above them, voices echoed. Court in session. As they reached the elevator, the officer's radio crackled. Internal affairs en route. The officer went still. The doors slid open. And as she stepped inside, she realized the record he tried to bury had finally been read. The courtroom smelled like old wood and dust. She sat at the defense table, hands folded, back straight. No cuffs now. Still watched. Across the room, the officer stood with his arms crossed. Same posture. Same stare. But something in him had shifted. The certainty was thinner. A woman with a press badge slipped into the back row. Notebook already open. The bailiff called the case. Her name echoed through the room. Clear. Unmistakable. The judge looked down. Glasses low on his nose. Appearances. Her lawyer stood. For the defense. The city attorney rose slowly. For the state. The officer's jaw tightened. The judge scanned the file. Paused. Disorderly conduct, he read. Failure to comply. He looked up. Officer, step forward. The officer did. Describe the incident. The officer cleared his throat. The defendant was loitering. She became argumentative. Refused lawful orders. The judge nodded. Video? The city attorney hesitated. We're still? Play it, the judge said. A screen lowered. The footage began. Shaky at first. A phone held too tight. Her voice came through. Calm. Even. I'm just waiting. The officer's voice followed. Sharp. Turn around. Now. The cuffs clicked on screen. Loud in the quiet courtroom. A murmur spread through the room. The judge watched without blinking. When it ended, he leaned back. Officer, he said, where is the resistance? The officer shifted. She stepped back. She stepped back because you advanced, the judge replied. That's visible. The city attorney cleared her throat. Your Honor, there may have been confusion regarding. Regarding what? The judge asked. Her right to stand on public property. Silence. The journalist scribbled fast. The judge turned a page. There's also a note here. He read aloud. Lead architect. City Justice Center. The officer froze. The judge looked up. Is that correct? Her lawyer stood. Yes, Your Honor. She was the lead designer on this very building. The room went still. The officer's face drained of color. The judge's gaze sharpened. Officer, were you aware of this at the time of arrest? No, the officer said quickly. She didn't say. She did, the judge replied. It's in the intake notes. You dismissed it. The city attorney closed her folder. The judge sighed. This court takes false reporting seriously. He looked at her. Ms., do you wish to speak? She stood. Slowly. I came here for a meeting, she said. I was early. I waited. Her voice didn't shake. I was treated like a threat, she continued. Not because of what I did, but because of how I looked standing on steps I helped design. The journalist looked up. The judge nodded once. Thank you. He turned to the officer. Charges are dismissed. A wave moved through the room. But, the judge added, this matter is referred to Internal Affairs and the City Oversight Committee. The officer's shoulders dropped. The judge's gavel struck. Court is adjourned. People stood. Chairs scraped. The journalist approached fast. Ms., can I ask? She held up a hand. Not today. Outside the courtroom, the supervisor waited. So did two people in plain clothes. Internal Affairs. The officer stopped short. One of them spoke. Officer, we need a word. The officer looked around. No escape. She walked past him. Close enough to feel his breath hitch. He didn't look at her. In the hallway, sunlight poured through tall windows. She had chosen them. Insisted on the height. The supervisor cleared his throat. The city will issue a statement. She nodded. Good. And, he added, facilities wants to reschedule your meeting. She almost smiled. Almost. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She didn't answer. Behind her, voices rose. Sharp. Defensive. Afraid. She kept walking. But she knew this wasn't over. Because buildings remember. And so do people. The interview room was smaller than the courtroom. No windows. Just a table, 2 chairs, and a recorder set between them like an eye that never blinked. She sat straight, hands folded again. A habit now. State your name for the record, the investigator said. She did. The red light blinked on. Describe what happened on the courthouse steps. She closed her eyes for half a second. Not to escape, just to order the memory. I arrived early, she said. I waited. I was approached. I complied. The second investigator nodded. Did you raise your voice? No. Did you refuse a command? I asked for clarification. The recorder hummed. Across the table, the officer sat rigid. Uniform crisp. Face tight. You felt threatened, the investigator asked her. Yes. How? By proximity, she said. By tone. By escalation without cause. The officer scoffed. The sound slipped out before he could stop it. The investigator turned. Officer. He straightened. I followed procedure. Procedure allows discretion, the investigator replied. You chose force. She was non-compliant. Define non-compliant, the investigator said. The officer hesitated. She questioned my authority. Silence fell. The second investigator leaned forward. Questioning is not resistance. The officer's jaw flexed. In volatile situations. This wasn't volatile, the investigator said. Until you made it so. They played the bodycam footage. Again. Slower this time. Frame by frame. Pause, the investigator said. The image froze. The officer stepping closer. Her stepping back. Who escalated? The investigator asked. The officer didn't answer. The recorder clicked softly. Outside, voices gathered. Low. Curious. Word traveled fast in buildings like this. The investigator turned to her. Did the officer ever explain why you were detained? No, she said. Only that I didn't belong. The officer snapped. I never said that. You implied it, she replied. Calm. Even now. The investigator lifted a hand. We'll note that. They moved to paperwork. Times. Names. Logs. There's a discrepancy, the second investigator said. Your report says cuffs were applied after verbal refusal. The officer leaned in. That's correct. The investigator tapped the screen. The video contradicts that. The officer's voice rose. Video doesn't show everything. It shows enough, the investigator said. A knock sounded at the door. A city official entered. Dark suit. Tired eyes. Media's outside, he said quietly. This is spreading. The officer looked up. Fear flickered. Just once. The investigator didn't look away from the screen. Then we should be thorough. The official nodded and left. The officer's shoulders sagged. The investigator switched off the recorder. This concludes the interview, he said. For now. The officer stood. Too fast. This is political, he said. Because of who she is. The investigator met his eyes. No. Because of what you did. They escorted the officer out first. She remained seated. The second investigator softened his voice. You can go. She stood. Slowly. Her legs trembled now that it was over. In the hallway, the journalist waited again. Can you confirm? She began. She stopped. Breathed. Yes, she said. It's on the record now. Cameras flashed. Questions overlapped. She raised a hand. Silence followed. I designed this building to be open, she said. Transparent. Accountable. Her voice carried. I expected to live up to that. She walked away. Behind her, the officer was led down another hall. Not in cuffs. Not yet. But smaller somehow. The building felt different now. Lighter. Or maybe she was. As she reached the exit, a plaque caught her eye again. Dedication. City Justice Center. She touched the cool metal. Just once. Outside, sunlight washed over the steps. She paused where it had all begun. This time, no one blocked her path. But the cost pressed heavy in her chest. Justice had a sound. A weight. A memory. And it didn't fade when the doors closed behind you. The headline hit before noon. She didn't read it at first. She watched it spread. Phones lifted. Screens glowed. People whispered her name like it was fragile. The city issued a statement. Short. Careful. Words chosen to protect itself. An incident is under review. Review meant delay. She stood in her office now. Back home. Walls lined with framed drawings. Awards she rarely looked at. Her phone buzzed again. A colleague texted, "You okay?" She typed, "I'm here." Down the street, a news van parked. Another followed. The journalist from the courtroom appeared on her screen. Live. Calm voice. Clear facts. Video shows a peaceful exchange escalate without cause, the journalist said. The officer has been placed on administrative leave. Administrative leave wasn't accountability. Not yet. Her firm held a meeting. Conference room full. Faces tense. "We stand with you," the senior partner said. "But the city." "I know," she said. "They'll protect themselves first." A junior architect raised her hand. "Can we say something?" She looked around the room. Young faces. Hope mixed with fear. "Yes," she said. "We can tell the truth." By afternoon, the clerk who had noticed her name spoke publicly. Quiet interview. Nervous hands. "I just recognized it," he said. "From the plans." The story sharpened. The dedication plaque went viral. Someone posted a photo. Designed by. Her name. Clear. Undeniable. Comments flooded in. Support. Anger. Stories. "This happened to me. They never believe us. They thought power meant silence." Internal Affairs released a timeline. Clean. Damning. The officer's report didn't match the footage. A press conference was called. She stood at the edge of the crowd. Not on stage. The police chief spoke. "We acknowledge mistakes," he said. "We are committed to improvement." A reporter shouted, "Is the officer being fired?" The chief hesitated. "The investigation is ongoing." Her jaw tightened. Behind the chief, the officer stood in plain clothes. No badge. No belt. His eyes met hers. This time, there was no calculation. Only fear. A community group organized a vigil on the courthouse steps that evening. Candles lined the stone. Soft light warmed the cold surface. She arrived quietly. No announcement. People made space without asking. A woman stepped forward. "Thank you for standing up." She shook her head. "I stood still." The crowd laughed softly. Then grew quiet. Speakers took turns. Teachers. Students. Parents. "This isn't one bad officer," someone said. "It's a system." Applause followed. Not loud. Steady. A city council member approached her. "Would like to meet." She nodded. "Tomorrow." The officer didn't show. That night, another statement dropped. "Officer placed on unpaid suspension pending findings." It wasn't justice. But it was movement. She sat alone later, lights off, city humming outside. Her hands shook when she finally let it happen. The memory replayed. The click of cuffs. The eyes. The silence. Trauma didn't ask permission. Her phone buzzed one last time. A message from an unknown number. "I saw what they did. I'm sorry I didn't speak up sooner." She stared at it. Then typed back, "Next time, speak." The courthouse stood across the plaza. Lit from within. Transparent. Accountable. She wondered if it could ever be both. Because exposure changed things. But it didn't erase them. And tomorrow, consequences would have to move from words to action. The plaza was quiet now. No officers, no cameras, no journalists. Just sunlight bouncing off glass and steel. She walked slowly, heels tapping on stone. Every step measured. Every shadow familiar. The courthouse loomed above her. Solid. Transparent. Accountable, she reminded herself. Or at least, striving to be. The memory of the handcuffs never fully left. Nor the cold metal, nor the officer's smirk, nor the silence of bystanders. She paused. Took a breath. Felt the city hum beneath her feet. Her phone buzzed. Another message, "We're ready for the project review." She typed back, "On my way." Inside, the halls were empty. Light spilled through windows she had fought to place, illuminating every line, every angle, every curve she had envisioned. She traced a finger along a railing. Cool. Smooth. Perfect. The building didn't judge. The walls didn't betray. But the steps outside had, once. She thought of those who had witnessed, those who had hesitated, and those who had spoken. Names she would remember. People she could trust. Community mattered. Even when it faltered. Even when it failed. A colleague approached. Quiet. Respectful. You okay? She nodded. I'm here. And I'll keep going. The officer? Gone from the building. Gone from the plaza. But the mark he left lingered. It would never vanish. Trauma didn't disappear. Still, she had proof now. Evidence. Witnesses. Media coverage. Public acknowledgement. Small victories stacked against a larger system. She smiled faintly. Not triumphant. Not celebratory. Just steady. The courthouse reflected her own resolve. Transparent, upright, enduring. Flawed, but unbroken. She stepped outside again, sunlight warming her face. The steps waited. Stone underfoot. Cold, yes. But hers to walk freely. For the first time since that morning, she felt the weight lift slightly. Not because justice had fully arrived. Not because the city had changed overnight. But because she had endured. She had witnessed. She had spoken when it mattered. The building still stood. She still stood. And the people who mattered, the community, the colleagues, the voices of truth, still stood. The steps would remember the injustice. And they would also remember her resilience. Because what still stands isn't just stone and glass. It's courage. It's truth. It's survival. And she had both.